Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Kidnapping in South Africa is 4 times higher than 10 years ago. Police Minister Bheki Cele says this is a major cause for concern. As more kidnappings are being reported countrywide, the trends keep changing. It's no longer just the rich and their families being targeted. Everyone is now at risk. Let's discuss this further now with Caroline Peters from Callas Foundation. It's been involved with some kidnappings on the Cape Flats. Caroline, thank you very much for your time here on ENCA. Let's zoom in on the Cape Flats in particular, which is where you are involved in working there. Have you seen a rise in kidnappings there?
Yes, we have, most definitely. You know, when it started, I think about a year ago, we saw the increase in the kidnappings. And remember the 5-year-old girl that was kidnapped, whose dad was a business owner. But we see how daily, literally daily, the kidnappings in my road. I mean, I live and I work on the Cape Flats. In my road, about a month ago, there was a car on a road away. In the same evening, we had 2 kidnappings within 5 minutes. We see the trend in this whole Athlone area vicinity, how it has increased.
And just tell me, in terms of your relationship with the police there in those areas that you've mentioned, how does that work in terms of sorting out the crime?
So we have community chats, and we have the police forum, from CPF members to policemen on the chat, so that the response has been, in fact, about just a week ago, 2 of the cars were recovered because of the access to this community chat. It was placed on the chat immediately, and within 20 minutes, about 10 minutes in another township, both cars were recovered. So it has been, we have been able, because we've had, as we are a coordinated, or I would say an organized community, but I know this is lacking in many communities.
And when you look at the Cape Flats in particular, what do you find is mostly the reason behind the kidnapping? Is it ransom, or is it one of those people who take somebody, take them to their bank, make them withdraw money, and then let them go afterwards?
We've had both, Masejo. We've had both happening like that. We've had 2 women being kidnapped, first taken to the bank, and in fact, one of them, a friend of mine, they were taken to the bank, money drawn out of their accounts, and then we have others where people were taken for ransom. We have where motor cars were just taken, people were taken out of the vehicle. We've just seen now over the weekend how a car was carjacked, with 9 children, 9 minors, and 2 adults in a car that was taken at gunpoint. So we've literally seen the brazenness and just the outright criminality happening on the Cape Flats, and it is out of control.
What do you think is attributing to this increase?
Sure, Masejo, for me, politics. The lack of security, policing, the lack of community cohesions, poverty. Even if we know it is not right, but we see that the desperation has caused criminals to operate with no disregard for human life, for that matter, So it is it's intersectional on many levels.
And Caroline, what would be your advice, because you've worked so closely with families, especially who are desperately looking to save their loved one who might be kidnapped for ransom, for instance. Let's start with that. Your advice for the families. How do they handle such a situation?
So I always say, when I leave the house, my husband or my daughter, there's always someone who knows where you are. Make sure there's more than one person at the time. I mean, just looking at the screen here now, how someone is kidnapped. It happens all the time, but just be vigilant. If you feel unsafe, I always say we have a sixth sense as human beings, and if you feel unsafe, do not stop your vehicle, pass your house. Make sure everybody know who you are, where you are, and who you're with. Yeah, it is so difficult, Masego, but life on the Cape Flats and I think across South Africa has just become, yeah. And sometimes, there's kidnapping, political reasons. We've seen the kidnapping for political or ideological reasons, and those things has also come into play.
Tell me, Caroline, we are seeing the statistics showing that kidnappings in South Africa are on the increase. Actually, our senior reporter, Aisha Ishmael, says the increase doesn't even begin to paint a proper picture, rather, because she says many of the cases, in fact, go unreported. But let's say it's the increases at the level that the minister said it was yesterday. Are you seeing arrests also increasing?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And I think that is the reason why people do not report the matters, because firstly, there's no arrest being made. We see our neighborhood watch. I mean, here on the Cape Flats, I know there's almost groups of men that has got together that go and assist, but there's definitely no arrest, no increase in arrest. There's no increase in the recovery. If I think back of Shireen that was kidnapped about 18 months ago, one of the first ones on the Cape Flats, and I almost feel like we as a community owe an apology because people had so many things to say. But there's definitely, and many people fear the aftermath of what happens once the justice system and so forth. So definitely no increase in the arrest or cases reported. I think it's the same with many other matters. People just don't report.
Do you think this has anything to do, the increase that is, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that we don't have enough boots on the ground in terms of the number of police officers available? I mean, some areas, even in Cape Town, say they don't even have a local police station.
Definitely. There are no longer, you don't see police patrols. Before in the areas you used to see police patrols. There are no longer police patrols. As communities, that's why I always say to communities, street committees. So in Athlone, we started with street committees in Bridgetown, in Athlone, and then we have every street as a chat, because we cannot only depend on police service. In fact, we cannot we cannot depend on the police services to respond to these matters. So as a community, we have got collection monthly, and so we contribute to our own safety. So, it's not like we live in a suburb where there's money for security services. So what we have, and you find that the men in the community has come together and said they will make shifts, and they take shifts. We started the fires on a Friday evening in the communities. Over weekends, there's fires burning on different corners. And so as a community, we've come together to devise our own plans, because we know we are left to our own devices. There are no police. There are no police coming to save us.
Caroline, thank you so much for speaking to us here on ENCA and for your expertise. That's Caroline Peters from the Callas Foundation. I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do. We do have devices, for instance, that will show your family members and those close to you where you are all the time. You can send them your location, your live location, that is. But criminals sometimes kidnap you, and then they throw those devices out the window. So what are we supposed to do? Put chips in our children so that we can follow them and then infringe on their right to privacy? We're alone, basically, in South Africa. Let's go to